Hey there guys, what's going on? In today's best class setups in Warzone series, we're back with another spicy one here today. After you guys went pretty wild over the last Warzone class setup video we made, I figure I should probably make some more of those. We're taking a look at one of my favourite weapons in regular multiplayer, the Grau 5.56. This weapon is overpowered, good damage, really accurate, and just a fantastic assault rifle that performs really well in Warzone, as well as it does in multiplayer. With the latest patch, if you manage to work your way to $8,500 or $8,500 and you get a loadout drop, or if you're lucky enough for one to spawn near you, you can equip one of your preset loadouts, which takes a lot of the randomness out of Battle Royale, which I think is pretty good. So with this overpowered Warzone class I've put together, you'll be able to dominate in the Warzone. We've of course got two weapons, the best perks and lethal and tactical grenades for Warzone here. We'll of course keep the Warzone content coming as long as you guys do watch it, but just before we do get into this overpowered Grau 5.56 class here, let's try and get this video to 12 likes. The support on the videos from you guys has been absolutely wild recently. Like, since Monday, I think I've had about 100 new subscribers, which is pretty crazy. So big thank you to everyone for liking, subscribing, and commenting on all of the videos that we've been putting out. I've got loads of stuff lined up for you while you're all stuck inside. So make sure you do subscribe with those notifications turned on so you don't miss any of the upcoming videos. We recently hit 600 subscribers overnight, which is insane. So I guess we're heading towards 700 now. And that is it just makes my mind blow up. So let's talk about this Grau 5.56 Warzone class. Right, so as I said already, the Grau 5.56 is one of my favourite weapons in regular multiplayer, and it's also super strong in Warzone as well. A hard-hitting, low-recoil assault rifle with excellent range is always going to perform quite well, especially when you can back it up with a sniper to cover super long distances. With this class, you'll be set for pretty much any engagement, so of course we're basing this class, like I said, around the Grau 5.56. We've also gone with the AX50 again, because it is super overpowered still with the thermal sight. But the HDR is also an excellent option. You can just pick people off that have no idea where you are, which is just fantastic fun. So let's jump into our class setup here with all the attachments and weapons and everything else. So starting with our perks and grenade choices here, they'll be fairly similar on most of my Warzone class setups unless balance changes do occur. Perk 1, of course, we do normally have a few options that we can look at here, but because of the prevalence of thermal snipers in this game, you'll probably end up needing cold-blooded. With this, we become undetectable by the AI targeting system, and thermal optics does not trigger high alert warning. This is another added bonus. The most important thing about this is, of course, the thermal optic bonus. I mean, you're definitely still visible on a thermal scope, you're just way harder to see than someone who doesn't have this on. Scavenge is also a nice option in the early game where you've got limited bullets, but I feel like the use for this diminishes quite quickly because you sort of just end up getting more ammo as the game goes on. With cold-blooded, sniping with a thermal sniper is also a little bit easier because you won't have to worry about being spotted immediately. Perk 2 for this class setup is also very straightforward because our only real option here is overkill. It boils down to this. I think having two very powerful weapons is way stronger than any of the other available options. Sure, I'd love to have Ghost to stay off that radar, but I feel like we do way more work and the game's way more fun when we've got two overpowered primaries. Perk 3 is of course a little bit more open-ended and you can choose whatever you like here. I usually just rock with Tracker just so I can see enemy footsteps and death markers. Tune-up is also a nice little option here if you're playing with squads to revive people more quickly, but again, this slot's mostly up to how you want to play. The lethal slot isn't really super important here. You'll find a variety of lethal options on the battlefield and sort of whatever you want to carry isn't really relevant. Like, you probably want something to maybe cover your ways, like cover your staircases and other things like that if you're trying to sort of hold an area, but again, these change all the time, so you can find these mostly on the battlefield and it's not too big of a deal what you pick here. And last, the tactical slot, I've gone with the heartbeat sensor. Being able to detect enemies when they're near you is obviously super powerful. This will stop you dying in dumb ways most of the time. The heartbeat sensor is of course countered by Ghost, but in theory at least one member of the enemy team who are camping in the building won't have Ghost on. Alright, so we are going to look at the Grau 5.56 here first, and we're going to run through the attachments with a little bit of explaining. Right, so we've got the muzzle slot first, and you're pretty much required to run a monolithic suppressor in Warzone. Damage range and sound suppression are super powerful in Warzone, of course. The sound suppression makes it a little bit harder for enemies to track us down when you are shooting, and the extended damage range is super strong for taking out targets that are slightly further away. This is a great option for pretty much every weapon in Warzone, of course, and I recommend you take it on every class if possible, if you can. It's really, really strong. So of course, in the muzzle slot, we've got the monolithic suppressor, and that's the first attachment for this overpowered Grau 5.56 setup. Secondly, in the barrel slot, we've got two options that both do very similar things. You can choose between the FSS 26.4-inch Archangel barrel and the FSS 20.8-inch Nexus barrel. Both of these barrel options do give us huge bonuses to our damage range, bullet velocity, and recoil control, while reducing our aim down sight speed and movement speed in varying amounts. With the map being much larger than anything in multiplayer, we want as much damage range as possible. You want to be hitting those shots at 50 plus meters sometimes, so getting that extra damage range at maximum range is really important. The only major difference between these two are the iron sights. The Archangel, which is the barrel that I do prefer, has a needle-like point, which is pretty interesting, and that sort of lets you be really accurate, where the Nexus barrel has a more standard sort of W-shaped iron sight. You really can pick whatever you prefer, they do play very similarly. I'll talk about a fantastic class building combo when I do get down to the rear grip slot. These are the most powerful barrels for the Grau 5.56, and on my class I'm rocking the FSS 26.4 inch Archangel, and that's the second attachment for this overpowered Grau 5.56 class setup. Next we've got what I think is a pretty underrated attachment in this game. In the underbarrel slot we do have the Commando foregrip. With this we get recoil, stabilization and aiming stability. These stats help with the horizontal recoil of the Grau 5.56 and make us really accurate. Similar to the recoil control bonuses that we do get from the Archangel barrel, this does help us fight at those longer ranges and it can help us pick off targets that aren't far enough away to warrant pulling out our sniper. There's not really much else to say here. This attachment helps us stay on target, and it's still somehow underrated in this game. You put this on any weapon and you will perform way better, especially if the weapon is heavy on the horizontal recoil side. So again, in the underbarrel slot we've got the Commando foregrip, and that's the third attachment for this overpowered Grau 5.56 class. Next, in the ammo slot we've got a little bit of a big one here. We've got the 60 round mags. This is a very simple attachment. Having 60 bullets in Warzone is super strong. People can take between 6 to 8 shots to kill sometimes, so if you come across an enemy sword with only 30 bullets, you can sometimes struggle if you are forced to reload. While you're reloading, they can just sort of push you and you'll be straight back to the gulag faster than you can say, "Get me into the gulag." Really simple, and that's why we've included it as the fourth attachment in this overpowered Grau 5.56 class setup. And lastly, we do have the rear grip slot, and you already know what we're using here. The XRK Void 2 is the same thing as the stippled grip tape, of course, and we get the aim down sight speed and sprint to fire speed. These are some of the best stats in the game in my opinion, and they do work really well with this class. I did mention an earlier combo that I use on all of my class setups. If you are using the biggest, longest barrel option like we are with the Archangel barrel, you'll always want to be running the stippled grip tape. I use this on all of my classes and it works really well for me. It really does cancel out the negatives that you do get from equipping the larger barrels while still maintaining that range and damage. So our last attachment for this overpowered Grau 5.56 class is the stippled grip tape, or as it's known here, the XRK Void 2. Next we're going to look at our second weapon, and it is the other star of this show. You can use either the HDR or the AX50 in this slot, as they both have one-shot headshot kills in Warzone. Other snipers like the Dragunov and the Kar98K don't have that. I'm using the AX50 in this case, but the HDR is also a really powerful option and has faster bullet velocity than the AX50, so this choice is of course up to you, but you'd set up both of the snipers very similarly. If you did already see my AUG class setup video, the sniper setup here is exactly the same as that one. So starting us off here is the first attachment with the monolithic suppressor. Again, with this we do get sound suppression and a boost to our damage range. In multiplayer this would be a bit of a sin, but in Warzone having a silent sniper with boosted range is incredibly powerful, especially with the other attachments that we've chosen here, which we'll talk about in a minute. When you are fighting with this sniper setup in Warzone, it sometimes feels like you are playing a completely different game, almost like it's Sniper Elite or something. You can just pick people off from so far away, it almost feels unfair. So of course, in the first slot, we've got the monolithic suppressor again with this overpowered class setup. Next, we've got the barrel slot, and again, normally you wouldn't run the longest barrel in multiplayer, but of course in Warzone we do have the 32-inch factory barrel for the increase to our damage range, bullet velocity, and recoil control. This is a super powerful barrel option to increase our range and make our shots hit the target slightly faster, and it also makes the third or second shots even easier to hit. The Singard Arms Pro Barrel is also a really strong option here until you do unlock the 32-inch option. You do have to deal with the negatives of having the heaviest barrel, and a couple of our other attachments do help counter this, but it's still going to be slower than you would expect from multiplayer. But as far as sniping goes, this is the perfect second attachment in Warzone and one of the best attachments in this overpowered class. For the optics slot, we've got the real star of the show, the thermal sniper scope, or the thermal dual power sniper scope, are just filthy in this game. Highlighting most people as bright white is just too powerful, and it probably is just something that the game does have to live with. They either need to nerf this scope somehow or buff cold-blooded. Either way, thermal scopes in Warzone are just overpowered by so much, it's unbelievable. It does make us aim down sights slightly slower, but it's not really that much of a factor when you're just picking people off for fun, as they have no idea where they're being shot from. This is one of the best attachments for this class and probably one of the best in Warzone as a whole, maybe even the best one. Definitely a perfect third attachment for this class setup. Next, in the stock slot, we've of course got the Singard Arms Assassin. This gives us a boost to our aim down sight speed, and we really do need it here after picking the other attachments that we do have here. Like, we've got pretty sluggish attachment with the barrel, the monolithic suppressor, and the scope, so we do need to get a bit of handling back. It really does help us get those sights up and start picking people off, and again, when we're set up, we are absurdly powerful. It almost feels like that campaign mission where you're just sitting on top of like that ruined building and you're just shooting people from so far away and they can't really do anything about it. Aim at the head and you just drop people really quickly. It's super satisfying and pretty much overpowered, but as long as this type of class setup is allowed in Warzone, we are going to use it. Perfect fourth option for this class. And lastly, of course, you know what we're about to say, and it's exactly the same thing as the Grau setup. This stippled grip tape, of course, you know what this is and you know why we need it. Same as the stock slot, boost to our handling after having 3 attachments that do slow us down is super powerful. Again, does help us get those sights up and shots on target. Super powerful last slot in this class. So this is of course everything that we've got in this overpowered class. I'll flash everything up on the screen quickly again. This is the Grau 5.56 class that we do have here. This class is just super strong. Everything that we've got here works together in such a fantastic way. The Grau 5.56 is overpowered in multiplayer, and it's definitely still one of the best weapons in Warzone 2. We've recently seen a bunch of other weapons being added to the Warzone, and it'd be interesting to see if we end up getting separate balance changes between multiplayer and Warzone, because having thermal snipers completely dominate the game might get stale pretty quickly. This is one of the best classes in Warzone at the moment, so do try this out, and you might end up getting very close to those wins. I've only got one because I'm a bit of a bot though. Thank you very much for watching this one, guys. Another one of those longer class setup videos, but I feel like it's good to get more of these out there. If you did enjoy this one, make sure you do leave a like and do subscribe if you are new around here, of course, so you don't miss any more of these videos. We are, of course, on our way to 700 subscribers now, which is pretty crazy to me. So it would mean a lot if you could look after that subscribe button. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you in the next video. Bye!